Hello everyone, Dave here with some thoughts on another knife for you guys. Today we're going to take a look at the SOG Mini Vulcan. I've been actually waiting to do this video for a little while, sorry I haven't gotten around to it, but this is a very cool knife. I really enjoy this one. As usual, I'll put the specs in the description area, you can check those out. Highlights include highly textured Zytel handles, and VG10 steel, which is something we'll talk about. It's nice to see a high quality steel come out in the SOG product line, and it features this arc lock system, and we'll speak a little bit towards that as well. As I mentioned, this is the Mini Vulcan. It comes in a little under 3 inches, or about 3 inches. Very good steel, pretty thick. There is a larger version, as the Mini would imply. I would probably look into that one at some point. Looks like a very cool knife as well, and from what I've seen and experienced with this one, definitely a great purchase. As you can tell, it's got dual thumb studs for opening as well as a trigger kicker mechanism. I prefer the trigger, as always. If you've seen any of my videos, you'll probably know that by now. One thing that I would like to mention, this is really nice about this knife, is everyone speaks about the Benchmade quality of how smooth they are in the opening and how everything just flows. I would say this is on that level, if not equal to or above some of the Benchmades that I've seen. It really just feels like, I guess a better way to put it, because it is such a thick blade, it's like a freight train on tracks. It just slides so smoothly, effortlessly. I haven't had to oil it, clean it, nothing. It just, it flows. It's really nice. It's literally like the blade is on tracks. It comes out so nice and smooth. Like I said, it is a little bit heavy, so difference between smooth and fast. Very smooth, but it is a little bit slower. There isn't, I wouldn't say friction, it's just, I guess, the amount of force you can trigger with the trigger mechanism. Maybe if you're really good with the thumb stud opening. As you can see here, that's another quick thing, deep grooves leading into the thumb studs, both sides for left or right side carry, which is very nice. It angles you right into it, so you could get right in there and flick it open. But like I said, I just prefer the trigger opening. It is, as you can see there, a very thick blade. It's got a slight recurve to it, very long swedge going out to the tip. Very thick, pretty thick steel for such a small knife, 0.125. We'll compare that as well. And there you can see it again, that VG10 steel, Sakai City, Japan. And it's great to see SOG, starting to use some of these higher materials. I forget when this came out, maybe last year, year before. It hasn't been out too long, but it's really nice to see, and definitely worth the little bit of premium you'll pay. I think this one's coming in around, anyway. Let's see, you can see there the Zytel handles, very, very textured, deep, kind of like a triangular groove type pattern. It's really quite nice, very comfortable in the hand, not too rough. The Zytel handles, they've always felt, I guess it is a type of plastic, but very plasticky to me, and the deep grooving on this one helps to sort of alleviate some of that. So what it really would have been nice, and I'm not sure what they're doing, maybe they did it to cut the cost a little bit there, but if they had thrown G10 handles instead of the Zytel, that might have definitely been something worth it. Anyway, pretty cool. As you can see, it's very nice size, almost 50-50 in its distribution and balance. Goes very deep, basically all along the length of the handle is the blade, so not much wasted space. Some people have spoken about this little thing before. You can see the little SOG identification there, and that sort of serves the purpose to cover up the tip. Now the handle doesn't recurve over the blade, which would have saved that issue, and some people have mentioned that they have managed to catch fabric, fingers, that sort of thing on this little area there. You could do it, I suppose. It's no worse than a lot of other knives, but the tip is a little bit exposed there, so I could see in a little bit of pocket carry you might be able to snag it on something. Okay, some other things about it. Let's talk a little bit about the arc lock. The arc lock has been compared and contrasted to Benchmade's axis lock. Very similar in concept. Instead of being straight, the axis lock being a straight locking mechanism, this one adds a little bit of an arc to it, but basically the same principle. Dual springs, when you engage the blade, it snaps right into place. One thing that I have noticed, and I'm going to start being a little bit more critical on some of the Benchmades that I've seen with it, is the fact of how little it takes to disengage it. I can sort of do it because on the other side I can activate the locking mechanism, but it really doesn't take a lot of movement before the blade is able to disengage. It's a very small amount of movement. So just a little bit and a little bit of pressure on the blade will disengage. It's not much at all. When you compare that to like a liner lock or a frame lock that actually takes a decent amount of movement to disengage, I have found that the axis locks, some axis locks, as well as this arc lock, takes very little movement to actually be able to slide it out of the lock position and then disengage it. So, while it may be a very secure and tight lock, it really, I would have to say it's not very reassuring that there's so little required before it's disengaging. If I just move it a little bit and then continue with the movement, so I'm obviously not going to close it on my fingers, but that's a centimeter less of movement. Not much at all. So you can imagine how easy, or not easy, but it could easily become disengaged. So I am becoming a little bit more critical of things like that. I'm going to take a look at some of my Benchmades and see how it plays out there. The spring is not, it's a decent spring, but it doesn't provide enough resistance to do that. Which, sort of another thing, if you take a look here, there is more space for it to push into the blade. So I'm not sure if this is a manufacturing part of the manufacturing of this particular model, or if it's this way on all axis or arc locks, but as you can see, it could actually traverse a little bit further into there, providing a little bit more resistance or need before the blade becomes disengaged, but this one doesn't. Okay, enough of that. So that's my one critique about it so far, or that I really have with it. I don't think it's a showstopper at all, but just to be aware of it. It is a very nice blade. I will give it that. The recurve on it, the thickness of the blade, just awesome. That VG10 steel comes out of the box razor sharp. The SOGs, they've always been great performers. I use this one, just around for little tasks, and it's nice. I'm not sure why it hasn't made it into my rotation for more carry, but it just hasn't. Another good comparison to it, or a good comparison to it, the Mini Commander. You can see there, very similar blade shape. Slight recurve with big swedge up top. Both of them very thick steels, each of them coming in at 0.125. You can see the Emerson, though, does maintain the thickness a lot further along the blade spine. So the swedge doesn't happen as early, happens a lot later on the Emerson. But same sort of idea. Of course, the Tonto versus the continued spear point. So there you go. But overall, roughly the same thickness, same width of the blade, same breadth. Very cool. Good comparable. The G10 versus the Zytel handles. So you can sort of see the difference there, and maybe you could see here that the amount of texturing on that Zytel is just really cool. I definitely will give it that. That is definitely nice. Basically, same comparable thickness. Stainless steel liners on the Mini Vulcan. Backspacer, pretty cool. So that's a good comparison. Another one that I thought also along those lines, just because of the blade thickness in the blade, the 350 ZT. Zero tolerance 350. You can see that, of course, the zero tolerance is a much broader blade, but sort of get that same idea. Gentle recurve, a little bit more of a recurve. Spear point with the swedge, equally thick. Again, the zero tolerance, because the swedge doesn't happen until much later, thicker throughout. Obviously, it's a harder use knife, the 350, but anyway, I think it's a good comparison. Comes in at roughly the same size. You can sort of see here, a little bit smaller overall. Throw the Mini Commander back up there, so you get sort of an idea what's going on. So it's a decent sized pocket knife, really good, hard use, excellent quality steel. The arc lock, take it for what you will, but like I said, some of the highlights on it, it's just so smooth. It's really, sorry, of course that was going to happen as soon as I say it, but it's really like it's on tracks. It's great movement there. It just comes out, the way it actuates is just very, very nice. Other stuff you can see, overall, great knife, enjoy it a lot. Yeah, hopefully SOG will produce more along these lines, get into the higher steels, maybe some S30V, who knows, 154 cm, hopefully some good stuff. But the VG10 is definitely a good way for it to go. So, as usual, question, comments, please post them. But great knife, definitely take a look at it. Thanks guys, have a good one, bye-bye.